After 4 years of Bidenomics, if Trump wins the presidency, there will be major shifts to economic policy, which means there's going to be major shifts in the stock market. In the event Trump comes out on top, I'm trying to figure out the best way to invest my money in 2025. So I read through and researched all of Trump's economic policy positions and found 3 sectors that stand to benefit the most. Let's get into it. The first economic policy that jumps out at me is energy. Energy is a recurring theme for Trump in his 10 chapters of different policies that he's bringing to the table. I think he references energy more than anything else. First, in chapter 1, to combat inflation, he wants to unleash American energy. He wants America to become the #1 producer of oil and natural gas in the world and will lift restrictions to do so. In chapter 3, to build the greatest economy, Trump wants to lift restrictions on oil, natural gas, and coal to make America energy independent and energy dominant. In chapter 4, to bring back the American dream, he wants to lower energy costs. In chapter 6, to protect seniors, he wants to unleash American energy. We can clearly target traditional forms of energy for our investments in 2025. And not just any energy ETFs, not just any oil, natural gas, and coal ETFs, we specifically want exploration. In fact, Trump even writes out in all caps, drill baby drill, in his policy explanations. We gotta go after exploration. And the ETF to do that is IEO, iShares US Oil and Gas Exploration and Production ETF. This ETF has 50 holdings and it is relatively concentrated at the top. 70% of this portfolio is contained in its top 10 holdings. And it has a decent expense ratio. A lot of the oil production and exploration ETFs will have expense ratios above 0.5%. This one has an expense ratio of 0.4%, which is normally higher than I would like to go on a diversified index fund or ETF, but this is not a diversified index fund and ETF. This one specifically goes after oil exploration and production. This is the perfect ETF to go after for if Trump wins the election. The next economic policy position that jumps out at me from Trump is his position on trade. Trump commits to rebalancing trade, securing strategic independence, and revitalizing manufacturing. He plans to do this by, in part, supporting a baseline tariff on all foreign-made goods. The figure I saw was a 10% tariff. This means all imports are going to be 10% more expensive, and thus domestic production will have a little bit of a leg up on importing cheaper goods from other countries. And then he goes a step further with China. He wants to secure strategic independence. Republicans will revoke China's most favored nation status and phase out imports of essential goods. The most favored nation status basically means that you're on an even playing field with all of the other countries that are also on the most favored nation status list. So if China gets kicked off, it's no longer going to be on an even playing field with other countries that are trying to import goods to the United States. In general, this means that trade with China is going to reduce if Trump becomes president. Well, China exports $506 billion in goods to the US in 2021, and the vast majority of that comes from one category. 47.7% of that is machinery and mechanical appliances. And then the second place category, which is 13.5%, is miscellaneous manufactured items. Those two categories alone account for roughly $300 billion in imports to the United States. And there's going to be a huge chunk of that gone as China loses its most favored nation status and gets hit with a 10% flat tariff. So my question is, which sector of the economy is best positioned to gobble up the market share that is left behind by China? That would be industrials. According to the GICS standard, that is the Global Industry Classification Sector Standard, the industrial sector includes manufacturers and distributors of capital goods, such as aerospace and defense, building products, electrical equipment and machinery, and companies that offer construction and engineering services. The industrial sector is the ideal sector to take that market share from China, so this is the sector that I want to invest in. The ETF that has the lowest cost that represents this sector is VIS, that is Vanguard Industrials Index Fund ETF shares. It has an expense ratio of just 0.1%. 0.1% is a very low expense ratio, and this ETF has 388 holdings, so it's very diversified. If any companies rise up in this sector, you're going to benefit by investing in this ETF. The third economic policy position from Trump is his position on the military. He promises to modernize the military. Republicans will ensure our military is the most modern, lethal, and powerful force in the world. We will invest in cutting-edge research and advanced technologies, including the Iron Dome missile defense system. And he also wants to revive our industrial base, which ties into our previous industrials ETF, but this one takes on a little twist. Our industrial base is critical to ensuring good jobs for our people, but also the reliable production of vital defense platforms and supplies. Defense being the key word and a key focus from Trump. This makes me want to invest in a defense ETF. Ticker ITA is the iShares US Aerospace and Defense ETF. This stock has been performing very well lately. It's up 25% on the year. ITA has an expense ratio of 0.4%, which is high for passive index funds, but for sector-specific ETFs, it's pretty middle of the road. This ETF has 39 holdings and it is relatively concentrated at the top. The top 10 holdings make up 76.5% of the total holdings. And the number one holding is GE Aerospace. I know I said I would do 3 sectors, but I can't resist. I got to do one bonus stock. This one's a little bit more of a stretch, maybe higher risk, high reward, but I'm connecting the dots with Trump's policy statements. And the first one that jumps out is he wants to ban all Chinese EVs. Electric vehicles from China are doing very well lately. So if they were to be banned altogether, that would strongly benefit a certain American EV company. Second, Trump references going to space. Specifically, he wants to expand freedom, prosperity, and safety in space by sending American astronauts back to the moon and onward to Mars, which also reminds me of somebody. And then third, recently, Trump had a 2-hour-long interview with Elon Musk. I think it's possible that Trump could throw Elon a bone if he wins the presidency because of all the favorable and friendly coverage that Elon gave him in front of millions of users on X. For my high-risk, high-reward investment of choice, I got to go with Tesla. This company is incredibly hyped and it has a lot of upside. But just because a company is incredibly hyped doesn't mean it's actually performing like its share price suggests. Check out this video right here where I take a deep dive into Tesla and look at their fundamentals and calculate their intrinsic value. Catch you on the flip side.